Hello everyone, welcome to another race dissection video here with Mo Allen. In this race today, I will be racing the Zwift Epic race in the E category, all category race, on the Zwift Bambino Fondo route, the 2022 Bambino Fondo route. This route is 53.1 kilometers. It's got 199 meters of elevation. Right now it says 29 riders in the pen. I think there end up being a little more than that, maybe late joins or whatever. You can see it ticked over to 30 there. So, as always, I will be trying to stay with the front group for as long as is possible until it seems like the effort can't be sustained with what the front is putting out. So you can see here there's 36 riders at this point. So this route is bookended by climbs. It is a little bit of flat for the first, I think, 8 to 10 kilometers. And then you climb partway up the epic climb. And then it's more flat all the way up until the volcano KOM finish. So here in the start, I'm just keeping an eye on the riders. This being an all category, an E category race, or 0 to 1000 Zwift Racing Score, it's likely that there are riders in this race that are out of my category and that I should not be trying to follow for extended periods of time. Especially now, you would have seen at the start my rider profile screen with my Zwift Racing Score. So I am technically in the C category as of the last, I think this is my, even though this is an all category, this is my second race, I think, since I've been updated to the C category with the last Zwift Racing Score update, the version 3 update. So I was B for years before that, literally years before that. So especially now, more than ever, potentially staying with riders in the A cat or even possibly B cat or high B cat is not advised. So I didn't do any recon on any of these riders, so I don't know what category they're in. My recon for the route was simply to check and read the description on the Zwift Insider page about the route. I also know that my coach, Dan Corridor, whose watts per kilogram coaching link is down in the description, he did this race and I watched, he streamed it on Twitch and I watched a little bit of it. I wasn't able to watch all of it. So I felt pretty comfortable knowing at least the general overview of the route. So 3.5 minutes in here, we're at 300-ish watt average. I'm trying to use good draft tactics, so stay towards the back, but watch the front. You can see it gets strung out here, so I'll wind up the watts a little bit just to get more towards the front of the group in case any large breaks get away. If there's a break of 1 or even 2 riders, probably I would not follow it. I would just follow the group if they followed it. Or if they didn't, I would just stay with them. But a break of several riders, I would try to go with that at this point and just see what kind of effort it takes to stay with that group. Otherwise, I'm staying towards the back and saving energy. One thing I really need to figure out more before these races is what power-ups are, not only what power-ups are available, but how many are available. I think I save this feather power-up for the first climb, I believe, and then I know that the next power-up I get, I think I do use this one. Otherwise, I save this same one all the way until the volcano climb. I can't remember which. I only use either 1 or 2 power-ups, so it would have been nice to know whether or not like every single power-up opportunity gave you a power-up, what those power-ups were, and how many of those opportunities there were. That would have helped a little in the spirit of saving energy, but this is where we are. I didn't have that information, so I figured it was best to save the power-up. I would use it potentially if I was in like real danger on the flats or sometime off the climb in special situations, but I didn't have to use it here. So here comes a little test here as we wind up towards the villas from the volcano. This little winding section, little hill here, you'll often get some big power being put out. This one was relatively civil. I am still putting out 400 to 500 watts to get up it, but it's relatively short, and I was able to do it controlled, which I was happy with. So here we go. We are approaching the first climb, which is part of the way up the epic climb. I did this on a Sunday, which is the end of my training week. It was 7 p.m. that I rode. I got in about a little over 20 minutes of warm-up. I had done several races previous in the week. Always had a day of non-racing in between. But I was feeling, my legs were feeling it at the end of a week of riding and racing. So here we go. I do pop that feather power up here and just trying to see what kind of group I'm going to stay with up the climb. It's immediately evident that I'm not going to be with those front riders. I could have done more to know exactly how long this climb was. I had an idea from watching. I did watch my coach do this very same part of the climb, but I didn't have it committed to memory how much distance the climb actually was. So you can see it stringing out here. Feeling it pretty heavy. I mean, that was only a short effort, right? But pretty big watts to just stay with this group that I'm with. So you can see the separation there. And so now I'm just trying to see if I can stay with the riders around me. Standing up on the pedals here, trying to stick with these riders in front. As it turns out, S-Mac OTR, the rider right in front of me, I end up riding the entire rest of the way with them. Once this group gets to the front group gets away, and then we form a nice little group of several riders, and they're one of them. So you can see our riders back here not staying with that group. Looking at the results on Zwift Companion afterwards, it's interesting seeing for what it's worth, the racing scores of the riders that came in front of me versus me. So coming into this, I was 474 racing score. Actually, after the ride, I went up to 481, but all of the riders that were in front of me were, I think, at least 100 points higher than I was in racing score. Which I don't know what to make of that information at this point, but I mean, it wouldn't have been well, it would have been a little different, because when I got demoted, as it were, to the 470, I think I was, when the racing score updated, I believe I went from 520 to 690 was B, right? I think I went from like 550 to 475, if I'm not mistaken. No, that can't be right if I was 474, something like that. But anyway, so even if I was up back where I was, I think all of those riders up front still would have been a little higher than I was. So there's that part of the climb done. So here I'm with one other rider, S-Mac. Got the rider Mansilla 2 seconds ahead, and a few riders between 3 and 6 seconds behind. So here I'm just going to try to stay with the rider in front as we approach the other rider. As it turns out, the rider Mansilla, who we're catching now, was riding pretty erratically, and we definitely, I think both of us, me and the rider in front, S-Mac OTR, burned a couple of matches unnecessarily trying to stay with them, because they, first of all, were putting in pretty high watch just at the front, not high enough to catch the group in front, not, well, I guess maybe high enough to keep the group behind away. I've said it in previous videos, but it's always interesting to speculate as to why some riders ride the way they do. But this rider was keeping us on our toes the entire time until such time as they decided to stop at one point and then restart and then get back with our group and then push a bit and then stop for good. So I'm not exactly sure what was going on. Maybe they had technical issues. Maybe they were just doing a workout. Maybe they were trying to break us. Maybe it was inexperience. Maybe it was a combination of all those things. But it's an interesting experience to have under your belt. Just to maybe in the future identify when a rider is riding that way. I'm not sure. Like even here, me trying to stay with their wheel the way I'm feeling at this point, 170 beats a minute after 20 minutes at 312 watt average. I mean, these little ramp ups here to over 5 watts a kilogram. I'm not sure I should have tried to stay with them. Probably the best thing would have been to let the rider behind in front of me, as I did just there, and follow them. And then at least I have 2 riders to follow. I have a group in front, and I'm trying to stay with that group rather than just one rider. But I do make some pretty probably ill-advised and erratic moves here to try to stay. And I'm sure this sapped some of the legs for the finish. You can see me here. I mean, all those little digs just to stay with that rider. Again, not sure they were advised, but I did want to be with someone else on the descent just so I could take advantage of my rider weight, 95 kilograms. So take advantage of that weight on the downhill as I'm doing here. Just wind it up and get off the pedals, get some rest. I'll stand up sometimes just on the pedals and get some blood flowing down to the legs. Here, as we approach the bottom of this descent here, I actually have 40 meters and 2 to 3 seconds on the riders behind. I decide that I'm gonna just keep an easy-ish high pace. I think I settle in around 250 to 270 here. I assumed those riders behind were not broken, and I assumed no amount of sustained push that I had in me would catch the riders in front. So being in the middle on an island is not advised here, so I was just keeping some watts up and waiting for the riders behind to make it up to me, and I can latch back on, which is going to happen momentarily. So again, through this little rolling section, you can see Mansilla keeping on the watts. And again, probably I should have been behind the rider behind me and follow them. And if they followed, then I would follow. And if not, I would probably stay with them because, again, hindsight, but this rider is either they're too strong if they're sustaining that power, and considering there's 36 kilometers left, it's probably not advised for me to try to stay with them for that entire time at those numbers, or they are doing something that's suboptimal to themselves and to me as well, so I probably should have dropped back. I'm guessing that was the better move here. So here you see this message come through from SMAC, giving me the advice to let them work and to save for the volcano. At the time that they sent that, and you can see me responding there on the phone, at the time that they sent that, I didn't notice that it came from them, and I should have known. I wasn't thinking, and I actually thought that message came from my coach. In my mind, that was the most likely scenario. I didn't think the rider I was with would be messaging me, so I messaged them back and then apologized for sending the wrong chat. And then when they responded, I said, oh no, it was the right one. So I apologized again for not having noticed. So there you go. Mansilla got away. Again, burned a couple matches trying to stay with them. But settling in here with SMAC, so Mansilla is now 11 seconds ahead, and we've got a group of riders between 20 to 40 seconds behind us, 20 seconds to a minute behind us. We eventually will group up with those riders. I believe 3 out of the 4 we become a group with. Well, now there's only 3. I guess one rider dropped off, the one that was after Petrovic there. But we do eventually form a group and do these flat sections together. You'll see us start to chat back and forth. I'm sending private messages to the rider in front of me right now, but once we become a group, we start sending public messages. So here you can see the rider S Max say that they're tempted to let the group behind catch up to us so we can benefit from the draft, and I told them that I agree, so we start to sit up here and wait for the group behind. And you see me turn off the graph there so that I can see the distance to those riders coming from behind as they approach us. With the graph on, it obscures the rider names and distances. So I turn the graph off whenever I want to know what the distance is behind without having to switch the view. So here we are with our group of 4 riding along. You'll notice that the rider Mansilla, who was pushing those watts, is now 28 seconds ahead. They are now slowing down, and they eventually, there they go, they come to a stop. I hadn't noticed this at this point. I wasn't paying attention to the riders in front at this point, but we do eventually pass them, as I mentioned earlier. we pass them and we get a gap on them, and then they restart and rejoin our group. So that's where the 5 come from. But again, they come and they do similar inconsistent things once they're in our group as they were doing previously. So I get a little more hip to it. I even tell the rider S Mac, who, there they go, saying that Mancilla's coming back. I tell them that I'm not going to try to chase Mancilla anymore. But if the group goes with them, then I'll go with the group. So here comes Mancilla joining the group again, and they will immediately go towards the front. I would like to say that they're going to do some pulling, but I think they really just are not. It's an interesting opportunity to work out the pack dynamics with a rider that's riding that way. I'll say it that way. So here we see Mansilla once again letting up. This is around the same part of the route that they let up last time, interestingly enough. I don't believe they ever restart again. So here you'll see me grabbing for a gel. I have a Science in Sport isotonic gel. So my nutrition for this race was 2 scoops of Infinite Nutrition. It's a carbohydrate blend, a custom blend that I mix with 20 ounces of water. I had that within the 15 minutes before the race start during the warm-up. During the ride, I have 2 bottles with just water, and I have 1 other bottle with another 2 scoops and 20 ounces, 2 scoops of Infinite and 20 ounces of water. So I'm looking to basically finish all of that during this ride. So probably, 45 minutes per water bottle, and spacing the Infinite Nutrition bottle out, in the first 3/4 of the race probably. So there, that gel, my race plan was to take the gel with 10K to go. So that's what I was doing there, just get some extra fuel in, get ready for the final volcano climb. I've been climbing well, so I was hopeful for the climb. At this point, with an hour and 10 minutes in, it was feeling like all the surging in the group wasn't feeling all that comfortable. I wasn't all that confident in the final climb. I knew I wasn't going to be the one at the front of the climb, so I wasn't dying, and I knew that the riders around me seemed to be similarly matched, so I knew I had, good relevant competition, it seemed. But I did just want to try to stay on their wheels for as long as I could up the climb, and if I could find a moment of either weakness from them or strength in myself to break away a little early before the top, just so it didn't have to rely on a sprint finish up a mountain, then that would be ideal, but I wasn't confident that that would be the case. So here I knew that the volcano climb was going to be coming up shortly, so I knew we were probably going to do some laps through the volcano before we went to start the climb. My best volcano climb time I know is in the low 7s, I think, but actually that low 7 time was like during a race where I think there was a large group and I think I was feeling strong, so that time is sort of inflated and not one to be compared to in a group of this size and my fitness on this day. Either way, I knew that it would be a little less than, or somewhere between 7 and 8 minutes of effort, so here I'm just mentally preparing for that climb to come, trying to not be in the front of this group. I think the rider S-Mac did a little better job than I did of staying in the back and getting the most draft, so kudos to them. But I did do fairly well, I think. Never in the front on the flats for any sustained period of time. So as we start the climb here, again, I'm not feeling incredibly strong. So I'm currently at 167 beats a minute, but that's coming off of all of that basically Z1 and Z2 work on the flats. So you'll see that balloon up here, that heart rate balloon up soon enough. Putting out currently 300 to between 300 and 400 watts to stay with the group. Hoping that there's no strong surges. I'm not feeling strong enough that if someone put out a sustained multi-second effort, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay with it and would have just tried to hang on to a rider next to me. You can see up top, or up front there, S-Mac use what I assume is steering to go off to the left and put in an effort, which is a good little tactic there. Got a little gap on the group. We do make it back up to them, but that was a good tactic there. So here I am looking forward to this little bit of flat, get a little bit of a break hopefully, and prepare for basically the second half of this climb. So with just 1 kilometer to go, it is a 3-rider race now as 2 of the riders in our group drop back. We've got Marchetti and we've got Mac. I know that Mac has been doing a lot of drafting and saving energy, as I have. The other riders were up front the entire time, so I had to assume that their legs were fresher than at least Marchetti. Again, you never know the skill level of the riders in this all-cat race, but here we go. Short time to go with Mac popping the power up there. I knew that they were going early. I was a little, again, they swing over to the left with steering. I was a little late to respond. Also, not a huge amount on the legs. This is about what I could manage here. 180 beats rising up there, 540, 520 watts. Just to try to stay with them. You can see me struggling there, sitting back down, trying to stay on the pedals, but I popped the power up there, knowing that the end is coming. Mac did put in a really good ride. They didn't have a huge sustained effort though. If I was stronger, I think I could have gotten at least, I know I could have gotten closer. If not, maybe going past them is a little too much to ask, but you'll see basically here, my legs basically go right about there. It's coming up. You'll see me sit back down. You see the cadence go down here. I am really feeling it. My legs were toast at this point, and I almost let the rider behind come back up, which would have been a real shame. But this is a good effort by me. I guess I don't sit down there. This climb time of 7 minutes 54 seconds was my best climb, or second best climb of this year on the segment. So that's not too bad. There we go, 13th place. 2.8 watts per kilogram average. You can see there Mac also had 2.9 watts per kilogram. So we did good work saving our legs, not doing work unnecessarily in the front. So good hour and some change of hard effort here. Interesting route with the flats in between. Again, a couple mistakes were made, I think, burning matches following that rider on the flats. So that could have been the difference between me having a little bit left to challenge with S-Mac in front of me. So I thank you all for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, click subscribe if you want to get notified when I upload more videos. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of this race, if you agreed that I could have saved some legs in certain ways, or if there's any questions you have, let me know. I appreciate it. Stay fit, stay healthy, and I will talk to you later.